Good morning, everybody. Buddy with Midland, Texas. Gonna do a little video for you today. This is kind of, in a way, it's a follow up on the last video I did about John Woodward. The first secret police showed up in my house. Got a lot of likes on that one, so it's an amazing video. Well, I didn't really focus on when I showed that, but Woodward, the sheriff from a whole nother county that showed up minutes after a murder attempt, was followed by Mike Naylor, and Naylor is going to be in this video. And what gave me the idea is today on my Facebook, I saw where today is Police Memorial Day, and that's where it honors officers who have sacrificed their lives while making sure their communities are safe. Okay, Midland has a deal going on. So does Odessa. It was on the news, and it's also on Facebook. And so here, that's where I created this post, and I think you're going to find it really amazing. I mean, just truly amazing. It's today's Police Memorial Day, and this made me think of the late Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, who was alleged to have been killed while serving a warrant on October 9th, 2014. But the public was never told the whole story. Okay. Naylor was the second secret police seen on camera arriving at my home on January 28, 2012, minutes after I crawled out from being ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut. He was not dispatched, and his name had been illegally omitted from the long withheld police report. When they omit things from a police report, it's a felony. And and this wasn't an accident. There were 6 officers' names that were omitted. I mean, it was a big felony. Okay, with proof showing that other officers, Davis, Dickie, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, were under my home that night, then it's suspected that Naylor was also under my home too. I mean, I suspect that Woodward and Naylor were both under my home when I got shot, and then they drove around front. I mean, that just makes sense. That's why they showed up without being dispatched. That's how they knew to come here, etc. To be more specific, it's believed that he, Naylor, was in the underground homes that Sheriff Candidate Joe Lozano said the late Sheriff Gary Painter used to hide out in, and it looks like one of those underground homes is located in my backyard based on Google Maps. Okay, and remember, I secretly recorded Sheriff Candidate Joe Lozano saying that. And multiple people are documented saying them underground homes are here. At the time Naylor died, I had a $2,000 award offered for his identity, along with the other 10 secret police. Empire Private Investigations collected the reward money in 2018. That was 6 years later. This was the first time in the history of America that a crime victim had offered a reward to identify police who were caught on camera in a murder attempt, but not a news story in the nation. It's unprecedented lawlessness. I think we can all agree to that. Many people said that Naylor was a good guy, and some people have wondered if he was going to snitch on the other secret police. I mean, there was 10 of them, right? The underground homes, crimes, and murders, and somebody didn't want that to happen, right? 2 months after Naylor died, Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson was alleged to have murdered his wife and killed himself. Chad was also caught on camera at my home and also had his name illegally omitted from the police report. We now have 2 law enforcement officers and a policeman's wife dead, connected to the murder attempt of my life, which is connected with the 4 other murder deaths that businessman Aaron Packelhofer said had happened in my home. I believe they killed the guy that lived here before me, Mike Lawhon. Many people just can't believe that Chad would murder the mother of his 2 babies. So the question has been asked is if he was going to snitch on the other secret police too, and they took him out. Do we have some cop killers in Midland? I think that's a very fair question right here. And it's really, calling out our press for hiding this news from the public. I don't think they have any shame at all, but they have. That's all there is to it. They hid. I had a reward offered for their identity. I mean, it was had videos made going all over the world. All right. So here's my first comment on here, and we've seen this many times. The security cameras recorded me crawling out at 10:42 on January 28, 2012. That's just a fact. Can't be denied. I was forced to crawl out because my cell phone had been stolen, my home phone lines disconnected before being shot by surprise. This was premeditated murder. 19 minutes later, Martin County Sheriff John Woodward and late Midland County Deputy are seen arriving with the spotlight on, and come to find out they were not dispatched and their names had been illegally omitted from the police report. In fact, a total of 6 officers' names had been illegally omitted, showing this wasn't an accident. 2 years later, they were intentionally falsified the police report. 2 years later, Naylor was dead, but he wasn't identified as a secret police at my home until 2018. That was 6 years later. Okay, this is right from the security cameras, and that's where it's showing Woodward and Naylor where they first arrived with the timestamp 11:01. Okay, and it's just saying up there at the top, it's Woodward and Naylor at 11:01, and then the police report showed Lieutenant Dickie inside my home at 11:05, and he wasn't seen arriving. Okay, so either he was like on Star Trek and he beamed into my home, or he was under my home where somebody shot me from under my home. Okay, and I think we all know it wasn't like Star Trek. Okay, October 14, 2019, Naylor was shot with a stolen gun. That's not 2019. I got the wrong date on that. It's 2014. And I think it's October 9th, 2014. I'll fix that later. Naylor was shot with a stolen gun. Isn't that what corrupt police use to cover up crimes? A drop gun or whatever, right? It's just kind of fishy. Gun that killed Naylor was reported stolen. Isn't that interesting? Because there was a guy, Higgins, and he confessed, and I bet he did. He had about 6 different officers that were saying, here's what we saw, and he was going to get the death penalty, if he didn't confess. And I bet you they made him a deal. I tell you what, if you confess, you won't get the death penalty or whatever. And I wonder if one of them other cops didn't shoot Naylor, and it wasn't because he was going to snitch on the secret police. I don't know that. It's just very odd. You have a secret police dead, and it's being hidden from the public by our press and by our police. I mean, why don't they address it? Why don't they come in and explain why he's at my house without being dispatched? Why they hid it from the public? Why them police were under my home? There's a whole bunch of explaining to do. In 2018, Naylor was finally identified as the secret police seen on camera at my home. And see, this was the flyer that went around the world right here. Secret Police $2,000 award. I just cropped all their pictures, and put them together. Made videos, literally tens of thousands. First known secret police since Nazi Germany, And then here was the text messages from Empire Private Investigation, Stephen here, and it was he was sending them to me. Rosie Rodriguez, they're the 2 that we could recognize, okay? But then you had Tony Dickie. He was a lieutenant. He was the one inside my home without being seen arriving. Greg Chatwell, he was also here without seen arriving. Greg Nelson, I don't know anything about him. Marty Barrett was a crime scene investigator checking in evidence, and so that, that's real scary to think a crime scene investigator tampering with evidence in a murder attempt. Chad Simpson's now dead, right? Naylor's dead. Mark Gilliam, Michael Glick, and then Woodward. It's a sheriff from a whole nother county, the first one that shows up. That's what I paid the $2,000 for. Okay. I want to show you here, our elected officials and law enforcement knew about the reward because I sent them this email as proof. Let me show you the date on there. On January 4, 2016, you can see who it all went to. It went to our DA, Laura Nodoff, okay? Will Lundy, look there. It was all the former city council, and most all these are gone now. Sparks, Morales was the mayor. Here's Love, Dufford, Hotchkiss, Robneck. That was all, Price Robinson was the chief of police. All of them are gone. Painter's dead, okay? And then it went to the New York Times, and they went to our Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, the U.S. Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, okay, the Department of Justice, the Texas Rangers, okay, and so $2,000 reward for information corrupt police, okay, reward to identify corrupt police, and then here it is. I mean, that's what I'm giving them, all the information right here in this email. They knew. There was no doubt they knew. Of course, 11 police were here at my home. Of course they knew. The only people that don't know is the public. That's who's being kept in the dark and being kept ignorant and stupid by our press and by our police. They're the ones that don't know. Not stupid, but ignorant. 2 months after Secret Police Naylor died, I posted this picture on my Facebook. It's a picture of Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson, except I didn't know who he was until the PI identified him in 2018. He was a secret police. Along with the picture was a story called Rape and Murder, which told about the young girl that was murdered at the 2010 oil show party, believed to have been held in the underground homes. 2 days after this was posted, Chad Simpson, Midland Canine Police Officer Chad Simpson, was alleged to have murdered his wife, Sandra Simpson, and then killed himself. This made their 2 babies into orphans. And, that's interesting timing, right? And this is a print screen from my Facebook, December 13, 2014. Law enforcement could subpoena that and go, yep, Buddy posted the rape and murder story. Yep, Buddy posted a picture of Chad Simpson in his house, and Chad's name was omitted illegally from the police report. Remember, they tried to disable this camera, and that's what messed them up. It was a miracle that they started the camera that caught them planting evidence, staging the crime scene. 2 days later, Sandra Simpson's dead. And who's alleged to have killed her? This guy right here, Chad Simpson. Okay? But some people are asking the question, what maybe he was going to snitch, right? Okay, here's the rape and murder story. It's posted with the Chad Simpson picture 2 days before the alleged murder-suicide. I also emailed this story to Governor Rick Perry and Attorney General Greg Abbott, who's now governor, on the day of the alleged murder-suicide. I have a print screen of that and proof. I have my email from it. I wonder what they did about this, It seems like nothing. Rape and murder. Okay, this is a short read. Before I realized people were breaking into my Midland, Texas home. Remember, this was wrote years ago. Before I realized people were breaking into my Midland, Texas home, I was dating this woman who told me these stories, which I believe to be true. That was Angie McGee Hurley. She told me that these 2 older men approached her and told her that she was going to work the week of the 2010 oil show, as in prostitution. I don't believe that she felt like she had a choice, and I remember very clearly her leaving my home that night before the week started. She had a look of terror on her face that I'll never forget. I think she knew what was going to happen. I've heard about prostitution going on during the oil show all of my life. I remember reading a story about prostitutes flying in from all over the country to work this week. I would guess that oil companies involved in this wouldn't want it made public, and I suppose there's some police corruption. Where does this happen at? That's the question, right? After we would get off work, me and Angie, she would come, we worked at Claydesta, she would come by my home. This was our habit. She would then leave, and I would talk to her on the phone while she drove to Odessa. But during this week, she would leave, and about 5 minutes later, she would get off the phone. I was guessing that her destination during the oil show week was somewhere close to my house. That's how I knew the parties were 5 minutes from my house. Okay, now I believe she went to Home Depot. You could see where the tunnel was coming from Home Depot to my house, and underground in my backyard's an underground home. A lot more known than was when I wrote this, this story way back in 2013, 2014. We would talk on the phone each evening until bedtime, as well as talk on Facebook. I believe that there was other women doing the same thing that Angie was. I was secretly recording these calls, but I think she knew it. She was required to log in, so I believe that the internet was being used for scheduling. At 11 p.m., she would have to take a pill, which would make her sleepy, and we would get off the phone around midnight. My understanding is that then she would then fall asleep and be woken up by men a little while later, and them recordings were deleted, and not by me, but they're gone. I no longer have them. I did find a second witness that verified they were drugging them with women. I have a recent video on that and a print screen. I didn't name her public, but I did provide that to Lieutenant Gray at the Midland Sheriff's Department. I provided her name in that print screen, and just hoping that he ain't another dirty cop. One morning, I heard her ask this other woman, "What time did you get home last night?" And the answer was about 3 a.m. That was Donna Meadows at work, okay? So I think Donna Meadows knows too. There were other people there for sure. On another day, this safety guy from another company, and his name was Carl for Cud, worked in my building, okay? Looked at Angie and said, "Yeah, I got mine this morning." I was standing there while she cowered with shame. She would come by my home in the morning for a cup of coffee before work, looking really tired. On the second or third day, there was a story on the news about a person being hit by a train, and she's really interested in this story. She then told me this story about this girl who didn't want to prostitute, and this girl didn't wake up. My understanding is these sex slavers murdered this girl via forced overdose at the old show parties, okay? I believe it was the underground old show parties. A few weeks later, on my last day to talk to Angie, I was trying to get her to go with me to the police department to report this murder, which she and these others were a witness to, but she didn't want to go and indicated there were some upper level police involved. Okay, I had to work this day, and when I got off work, I noticed I had a voicemail on my company phone. It was from a police officer, and I called him back. This guy tells me that I better not contact Angie again, or charges would be filed against me. This call record could be found in my company's cell phone call records if law enforcement would look. A few days later, I went to the police department myself to try to report this, even though I'm a third party. I walked into the door, and I got the feeling that the officer at the desk knew who I was. How could that be? I was relatively new to Midland and a law-abiding citizen. I expected to sit down with the police officer and be able to tell my story, but that's not what happened. I was given a phone number to call and sent out the door. I called this number and left my name and number twice, very clearly, like I always do. I never received a call back. This can also be found in my company's cell phone records. I tried to report it myself. A few months later, I was telling another unnamed female story, and she told me the kind of pill which was being given there, and that was the ex-wife, was being given to the girls. I can only assume how this second person knew this. She said it was an antidepressant, which I took to mean a benzo, and probably a date rape drug, maybe roofies or something, I'm guessing. It's been alleged that there's $1 million underground facility near my home and that a prostitution ring is behind the tunnels. So I wonder if the location of the large prostitution event was there. I'm just convinced of it now. Does that explain the repeated break-ins of my home? Are these people here to keep me from finding this facility? I don't know. I know that Samsung security system and Vivint security system has 1,000 times that people are breaking in my home. I agree with them, and that was the records I have. I was keeping the proof. All the burglar alarms going off. Was a similar event going on the night of the murder attempt? Does that explain why a person said, "You don't know how many lives you ruined by surviving a home invasion or murder attempt"? The ex-wife had come over and said, "You don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy," and she was telling me there were a lot of people here. And my idiocy, of course, I think was I'd recognize I was under a home invasion, tie-wired my doors, and I trapped a burglar. That's what she was referring to. I had been reporting repeated burglaries to my house, and I was shot during a burglary. And it looks like these police were working with the burglars. I think there's the problem. I was reporting crimes to the police, and they're working with the criminals that are committing the crimes against me and all the other homeowners. Now there's 50 other homeowners documented reporting people in the attic. I gave the FBI agent sitting at the front desk a thumb drive with these secret recordings, and I think I did. I have a copy of them if somebody broke into my home and deleted evidence. Yeah, that's happened many times. And so possibly the FBI does have a copy of them recordings. Once again, I'm a third party, so I don't have direct knowledge, but I believe that what I was told to be true. And if you look at the other evidence, which I've shown, then it seems really plausible. I'm glad to work with law enforcement since I know the names of the people involved. I really appreciate you sharing this story. You might save a person being raped and murdered. And then I have one of the videos I've made called Forced Prostitution Murder, because that's what that is forced prostitution murder. And so I just wanted to go over here. Today is Police Memorial Day. We got 2 police officers dead, Naylor and Simpson, and they were both secret police at my house, and that's been kept secret from the public, and so that's pretty amazing. There are a lot of unanswered questions that still need to be answered. Crimes have never stopped at my house. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.